Canines are among the most successful mammalian predators on this planet. Today they are found in almost every corner of the globe, and they're found in almost every single ecosystem. There are canines that can be found in harsh deserts, and there are canines that can be found in Arctic tundra. Even though they were once much more widespread, they are still very successful animals. And to be able to adapt to all the different ecosystems on this planet, they have morphed into many different shapes and sizes. In today's video, I will be focusing on the largest of the canines, as I will be going through 9 of the largest wild canines in the world. At first, this may seem like a very easy list to make, but it does get quite complicated. The taxonomical classification for many canines is quite confusing, as some canine species will interbreed with each other and create hybrids, and of course many wild canine species have multiple subspecies. As I'm focusing on wild canines, I will not be including domesticated dogs, and I also won't be including dingoes as they're classed as a subspecies of wolf. But now that's out the way, we can start off with number 9, and our first canine can be found across the entire northern hemisphere. The red fox is the largest of the true foxes, and it is one of the most widely distributed carnivores in the world. They can be found across North America, Europe and Asia, and they even have an invasive population in Australia. Across their distribution, they can differ in size and colour, and they currently have 45 recognised subspecies. The red fox is a very intelligent and adaptable predator, and this is partly what makes it so successful. They'll feed on typical prey such as rabbits, squirrels and game birds, but they're also more than happy to feed on vegetable matter, and of course the food that we leave behind. This is part of the reason why they do so well in cities, and it's also part of the reason why they're such a problem invasive species. In Australia, they've proven to be very hard to get rid of, and the red foxes in Australia compete with the native species, and also prey on the native species directly. Across their native range, their natural predators come in the form of other canines and birds of prey, but usually they do a very good job at avoiding them. In many areas across the northern hemisphere, red foxes are seen as pests, and this is because they kill livestock and also go through people's garbage. Of course, this is not the fox's fault as they are simply trying to survive, and in most cases they're punished for their intelligence. Even though this species is not the largest canine, it is pretty impressive for a fox, as they can measure as much as 50 centimeters at the shoulder, and they have a maximum weight of around 17 kilograms. This size allows them to be nimble enough to catch smaller prey, and slots them in at number 9 on this list. But now we move on from a canine with a massive distribution to a canine with a tiny one. As for our next creature, we will be heading over to the Ethiopian highlands, as we have the Ethiopian wolf. Now this canine also goes by the name of horse jackal, and it does have a very similar size and build to a coyote. It has a long narrow skull and red and white fur, and it is quite a specialised predator. Around 90% of the Ethiopian wolf's diet is made up of rodents, and these usually come in the form of mole rats and grass rats. This dependence on one group of animals has made them quite vulnerable, and today this species is listed as endangered. There were thought to be around 360 to 440 individuals in 2011, and half of this population was found in the Bale Mountains. The Ethiopian wolf is the only species in its genus, and it's considered to be the most genetically distinct canid in the world. That's why it's important that we protect this species, and really it is facing many threats in the wild. In recent years, it's had to deal with habitat loss, disease and hunting by humans, and they're also at risk of hybridization with domesticated dogs. This dilutes the genetic integrity of the species, and could mean that we lose them altogether. Even though this canine is larger than the red fox, it is still a relatively lightweight canine, as it can measure around 62 centimeters at the shoulder, and they have a max weight of around 20 kilograms. So even though it's not the largest of canines, it is one of the most interesting, and it comes in at number 8 on this list. Before our next species, we can head to Central, South and Southeast Asia, as our next canine is the dhole. Now this wild dog also goes by the name of Asian wild dog or Indian wild dog, and it used to be found across all of Asia, Europe and North America. The dhole is a highly social animal, and they're usually found in large clans. These clans contain multiple breeding females, and usually include around 12 individuals. The dhole is really quite a hardy species as it lives in such a competitive ecosystem, as it usually has to compete with tigers, leopards and monitor lizards. These dogs are famous for taking down prey a lot larger than themselves, but they also get a lot of their food through scavenging. Their diet of course depends on where they're found, but they tend to show a preference for ungulates. In some very rare cases, they have been recorded taking down young Indian elephants and tapirs, but these prey animals are usually far too dangerous. But even though the dhole is a very impressive predator, they are still relatively small, as they only measure around 56 centimeters at the shoulder, but they are quite bulky and they have a greater maximum weight than the Ethiopian wolf, at around 25 kilograms. This size doesn't stop them from being one of the most impressive predators in Asia, but they're still only fit for number 7 on this list. But for our next species, we will be heading over to North America, as our next canine is the coyote. The coyote is a lot smaller than its close relative the wolf, and it fills much of the same ecological niche as the golden jackal does in Eurasia. The coyote is larger than this relative, but it was once referred to as the American jackal. Just like the red fox, the coyote is viewed as a pest in many areas, but really it's quite the opposite. Coyotes are known to prey on livestock and pets, but really they do a very good job at pest control themselves. They're more than happy to take down pest rodents such as rats and rabbits, and they will also take down other more dangerous pests such as snakes. Just like the red fox, coyotes are very intelligent canines, and this means that they're very adaptable and also do very well in cities. Strangely, coyotes are so abundant today because of us humans, as we help them spread across North America. When the Europeans arrived in North America and spread west, they took out many of the large predators such as wolves, cougars, and bears. This lack of large predators meant that the coyotes could thrive, and this is why they're so widespread across North America today. But even though these canines look very much like wolves, they are slightly smaller, as they can measure up to 65 centimeters at the shoulder, and they have a maximum weight of around 34 kilograms. At this size, they're definitely an animal that shouldn't be messed with, but they're still only fit for number 6 on this list. For our next species, we will be heading to South America, as our next wild dog is the maned wolf. Even though this species is wolf by name and looks very much like a fox, it is neither wolf nor fox. It is the only species in its genus, and it is the largest canine in South America. This species once had a close relative in the Falkland Islands wolf, but this species went extinct in 1876. Today its closest relative is thought to be the bush dog, but I think it's fair to say that these two species don't look very alike. The maned wolf is one of the most unique canines in the world, and one of the things that makes it look so strange are its very long legs. These legs are of course not just for show, as they are a very useful adaptation, as they help them to see over long grasses in their natural habitat. Like many other canines, the maned wolf is an omnivore, but it eats a lot more plant matter than most other canines. In some areas, more than 50% of its diet is made up of vegetable matter, and this usually comes in the form of sugarcane, roots, and fruits. Of course, it will also feed on small mammals and birds, and in some cases they're known to take down deer and collared peccaries. The wolf apple is a tomato-like fruit, and it's one of the maned wolf's most common food items. This fruit of course was named after the maned wolf, and it plays a very important role in dispersing its seeds. This balanced diet helps them reach a pretty impressive size, as they are the tallest wild canid with a height of around 1.1 meters at the shoulder, but they still only weigh in at around 34 kilograms. So not only is this one of the most unique canines, but it's also the tallest, and it comes in at number 5 on this list. Before our next species, we will be heading back over to Africa, as we have the African wild dog. Now this canine is native to sub-Saharan Africa, and it is the largest wild canine in Africa. It is the only extant member of its genus, and unfortunately it is very rare today. These dogs are currently listed as endangered, with only around 6,600 left in the wild. Their main threats come in the form of habitat fragmentation and hunting by humans, but they've also been badly affected by the outbreaks of diseases. These wild dogs were once found in 39 African countries, but today they're only found in Tanzania, Botswana, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. These wild dogs arguably have the most beautiful coat of any wild canid, and this coat is also sometimes why they're referred to as painted dogs. Even though these dogs are very rare nowadays, their rarity has nothing to do with their hunting ability. They have one of the highest success rates of any African predator at around 80%, and they have quite a unique hunting style. These wild dogs have incredible stamina and often chase their prey to exhaustion, and then they will finally take it down and kill it. As they live in such a competitive ecosystem, they have many natural enemies, and these enemies usually come in the form of lions, leopards, and hyenas. As they are smaller than these predators, they usually feed on smaller prey, but they are known to take down zebras, wildebeest, and even other canines such as bat-eared foxes. It really is a shame that they are so rare today, and they are one of the largest canines in the world, as they stand at around 75 centimeters at the shoulder, and they have a maximum weight of around 36 kilograms. This size makes them the largest canines outside of North America, but they're still only fit for number 4 on this list. The inclusion of the next 3 canines on this list is quite controversial, as it really depends on how you classify them. Some people view them each as a separate species, some people view them as subspecies, and some people view them as hybrids. Their classification is still debated to this day, but to start off with, we'll head over to the Great Lakes region, as we have the eastern wolf. Now this species also goes by the name of timber wolf or eastern timber wolf, and it is considered to either be a unique subspecies of the grey wolf or red wolf, or a separate species from both. Genetically, it's also thought to be a mixture of the grey wolf and the coyote, but most wolf populations have a lot of coyote DNA, and a lot of coyote populations have a lot of wolf DNA. These wolves are mostly found in the regions of Quebec and Ontario, and in these areas they primarily feed on white-tailed deer and moose. Behaviour-wise, they are very similar to the grey wolf, but of course they are a lot smaller, with a maximum height at the shoulder at around 70 centimeters and a max weight of around 37 kilograms. So whether it's a species, hybrid or subspecies, it is still a large canine, but it's still only fit for number 3 on this list. But for our next controversial wolf, we will be heading to the southeastern United States, as we have the red wolf. Once again, depending on who you ask, this species is considered to be a separate species, a subspecies of the grey wolf, and even a wolf-coyote hybrid. The red wolf's size is intermediate between a coyote and a grey wolf, and this would support the coyote-wolf hybrid argument. Its vocalizations are also a cross between a coyote and a grey wolf, but it does have a very distinctive reddish fur coat and long slender legs. Because of this canine's complicated classification, it's hard to know how many are actually out there, but today the red wolf is listed as critically endangered. A large number of these canines can be lost to hybridization, and they also haven't been helped by illegal killings and other human persecution. Strangely, these canines were already declared extinct in the wild in 1980, but thanks to captive breedings and reintroductions, they are found in the wild once again. As I've already covered, their size is somewhere between a coyote and a grey wolf, as they have a maximum height at the shoulder of around 80 centimeters, and they have a maximum weight of around 40 kilograms. This size makes them very formidable predators, but they're still only fit for number 2, and I'm pretty sure you can guess which canine's next. For our final species, we can head to both Eurasia and North America, as the largest canine in the world is the grey wolf. This species is a very impressive and adaptable predator, and has quite a few subspecies around the world. Some of these subspecies are the domesticated dog and the dingo, but really there are many more. This species was once the most widely distributed mammal on the planet, but its range has been reduced by about a third. Conflict with humans is one of the main reasons behind this, as many grey wolves have been lost to human-wildlife conflict. Like many of the other canines featured in this video, they feed on prey animals that are a lot larger than themselves, and they use their stamina to wear them down and eventually kill them. Grey wolves typically hunt within territories ranging from 50 to 1,000 square miles, and this is why it's very important for them to mark out their territories. As they are found in very competitive ecosystems, they have a lot of natural enemies, and often have conflicts with lynx, bears, and cougars. As they live in packs, they can often overpower lone predators, and this allows them to sometimes steal kills. But when it comes to size, no other canine rivals them, as they have a maximum height at the shoulder of around 92 centimeters, but they can have a maximum weight of around 80 kilograms. This shows us that they are truly the largest and most impressive canines on this planet, and they are number 1 on this list. If you think you know of any other canines that could have made it on this list, then let me know down in the comments below. But thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these, but until next time, goodbye.